I'll take the tag, and we're going to SmackDown this week for the go home show to Bad Blood. And this is a really good example of what I was talking about matches on a weekly TV show that should have been that would have normally been on a previous pay per view, but are now being showcased on television. The show opened up with Hardy, who I guess is a Nashville artist because they're in Nashville this week, which means lots of cowboy hats on everybody. Um, and he's introducing a returning AJ Styles, but he calls him the Phenomenal Forearm.
What?
Yeah, we'll get to that later. Yeah. AJ returns. He soaks it in for a moment. I mean, the crowd's really showing him some love for his return. He is 100% about to cry a couple of times. And then he's interrupted by Carmelo Hayes. And they then, they back and forth their way into a match, which is then stopped like 3 or 4 minutes in by an apparent ankle injury to AJ Styles. They said he sprained his ankle, but I don't know if it was a work or not. Carmelo then went to Nick Aldis and was like, "Hey, I should get my, title match with Jey Uso now, or with LA Knight now, because I won." And Nick Aldis was like, that wasn't really a win.
That makes me think that it was a work.
That makes me think that it was a work. Yeah. Then we moved in.
I mean, to capitalize on it that quickly.
Yeah.
It's a work.
Yeah. So then Michin then defeated Chelsea Green in a dumpster match. This is one of those ones that I said would have previously been on a PLE, but are now being on TV. It was a good match. They had a lot of hardcore spots. Chelsea Green, surprisingly adept at hardcore matches. Probably taking tips from her husband, I would imagine.
I would think so. Yeah.
I think so. But it was good. The finish was Michin powerbombed her through a table that was set up across the dumpster and into the dumpster, and then she walked around for the rest of the show like covered in dumpster juice and everybody pretending she stunk really badly. And so yeah, it was kind of a funny thing afterwards, but the match itself was actually pretty good. Definitely gave it a thumbs up. And then from there they moved pretty quickly into Bayley versus Nia having their face-to-face before Bad Blood for their title match. Bayley played on Nia and Tiffany's dynamic with the case involved, and she's tried to cash in on you several times, and I know you're noticing, and Nia, Tiffany being like, Tiffany blurted out, "I don't need this briefcase to beat Nia," and Nia gave her this, like the look, so they have this kind of back and forth. They attack Bayley. Bayley gets the upper hand. She lays out Nia and takes off. At which point Tiffany Stratton acts like she's going to cash in again, and Nia does a whole Undertaker sit up and looks straight at her and is like, "Oh, so more building that dynamic for the eventual, what I believe will be the cash in. Then Nia kind of leaves. Naomi comes out for her match with Tiffany Stratton. She beats Tiffany Stratton after a roll up. And I'm going to get to this match a little bit more in the things I really liked about this show, because man, oh man, did Tiffany Stratton take my relative dislike for her as a character and turn it into, okay, I don't really like the character, but her in-ring work is pretty solid. Like I said, this is one of the new NXT ladies that's come in, and I'm not that familiar with her since my return to WWE. So I'm getting to know her a lot later than a lot of other people are. But that match was, Naomi's a good gauge to put somebody with and see if they can have a great match, and she had a good match with her. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later.
Are you saying she's this generation's women's version of X-Pac?
We'll talk about that later, okay? Like really, because we'll talk about that later. So
good. I want to have that conversation.
Yeah, we will.
I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that.
So then we had a three-way ladder match for the tag team championships, which this would totally have normally been on a pay-per-view, but
was not built up at all.
Yes, it was built up a little bit. I think they may have announced it the week before, maybe 2 weeks before, or maybe over the last couple of weeks they were kind of building, like deciding who was going to be in the match. So it's Bloodline versus DIY, who I always love DIY, versus the Street Profits, which seems to be a good match. The match turned out kind of so-so. DIY and Street Profits did team up on the bloodline at one point and like put them through tables and did all kinds of crazy stuff to them, and then the bloodline still won. So
Mm.
that's kind of why it turned out so slow to me. I was like, these two
Who
teams literally
who
went after each
represented the
other.
bloodline?
It was Tama and Tonga. Tama
Those,
Tonga and
okay.
Tonga Loa. Yeah, Tama and Tonga.
Because I think are
Yes.
they doing the Freebird thing?
I don't know if they are, but Solo and Jacob had the ladder or had their tag match with Roman and Cody the next night, so it wasn't going to beat them either way. Not a ladder
Okay.
match
Well,
tonight.
I didn't know if Fatu was going to get in there. So
They I'm pretty sure they got involved a little bit, but I think they were really kind of saving those guys. I mean, when they won the match, they kind of regrouped at the ramp with the bloodline as if they were just coming out. So I may have missed something there, but I don't think they really got involved that much. But it was the beat down that the other two teams. Okay, let me liken it to something from AEW that we recently saw. It was like setting a guy on fire and then he gets the pinfall.
yeah,
Like those guys went through the tables and got the ladder spots and all that, and they
yeah.
won.
Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
I didn't feel
it
like
depends on the presentation.
I didn't feel like it worked that well, and so it not being on the PLE doesn't bother me that much. But this is still one of those matches. Now that was the end of the show. SmackDown's still relatively short without commercials. So and it didn't have a lot of backstage. I mean, it had backstage deals, but they were kind of woven in between them. Like, they come back from commercial break, have like a 30-second backstage angle, and then they go and do a match, which is a weird format for me because it makes it a little harder to keep up with promos. But there wasn't a lot there. I mean, this was a go home show. We knew what we were doing.
Yeah, there were a couple of long matches to fill the time in.
Yeah,
probably, yeah.
right. Yeah,
a three-way ladder match is going to take up a chunk of time by necessity, I would think.
Yeah, it took up probably about 30 minutes or so, at least, of a 2-hour television show, which is only an hour and a half. So it took up a good third of the show. So that's the end of it. So two things I really liked from the show off the hop. Here's where we get to talk about Tiffany Stratton, because holy crap, Naomi went for like an X-Pac facebuster. Stratton bounced out of it backwards, like a full rotation backwards, landed on her feet, and then double drop kicked Naomi right in the face. And that entire sequence took maybe a full second, if a full second. It was so fast. It was one of the most creative reversals
I'm pretty
I've
sure
ever
she has
seen.
a legitimate gymnast background.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. Like, that would track in this case.
There are a couple of girls down in NXT right now that have gymnast backgrounds, which is not a bad background to have in wrestling. It's really not.
But I mean, right now, as far as WWE goes, I mean, I know the history. I wouldn't call myself a casual wrestling fan, but as far as current WWE goes, I'm a little bit of a casual. I know more about the older guys than I do about the younger people.
I'm catching up.
And I'm re-catching up. But the more I see her work in the ring, despite just not really liking the way she presents her character, the more it tracks why she has the Money in the Bank briefcase. I really like this kind of teaser build they're doing, because I think she's going to topple Nyla and be the next women's champion, which is unfortunate, because I think last week I said Bayley's going to be the next women's champion, and maybe Tiffany cashes in, and it's maybe Bayley's only champion for 30 seconds like Drew McIntyre was that one time when Punk screwed him over. But I think right now it's going to be a cash in on Nia from Tiffany Stratton. So that's kind of where that turned to me before Bad Blood, and then we'll get into Bad Blood. But so yeah, Tiffany Stratton, one of the things I really liked about this episode. Meechin and Chelsea Green and their dumpster match was awesome. So another thing I really liked about this episode.
I'm glad they gave Meechin a win.
Yeah, I am too. I am
like,
too.
Like I said, I usually, kind of just lurk. I don't watch, but I lurk. I see clips online and stuff, and it's like, it seems like Meechin's kind of the person they put in there when they need like a third tier baby face to lose to an up and coming heel. And so it's good. I love Mia Yim. I think she's fantastic. And so it's good to see her. It's good to also, I think she's one of the only women who are technically members of the Bullet Club. Because of her association with the OC, they kind of count that as like a different wing, but it's they kind of accept all of the branches on the tree, So technically, I think she may be the only woman who's a full-fledged member of the Bullet Club. Like
Right. Yeah.
that's a kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they're giving her something. I mean,
Hmm.
it's good to hear about that from a
Yeah.
personal standpoint.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I really liked the match. I thought it was fun. I thought the Chelsea walking around afterwards, covered in dumpster
She's
goo, and everybody
so
pretending
good
she stunk, because
comedically.
Piper's her friend, and Piper's walking next to her, going, "Oh God, it's so terrible," and like making the throw up sounds and everything. Like, and so it was so good. And then she goes to talk to Nick Aldis, and it's like she's like, "I want," and he's like, "Not right now," and like just walks off. So like,
Even Nick Aldis can't
yeah,
keep it
even all this
under
couldn't
control.
keep, yeah, no composure for that poor man when she walked around. I don't know what she was covered in though, but she looked like she was legitimately covered in dumpster juice. It was kind of gross.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I really liked that part. Something I didn't like, and that I consistently do not like in wrestling. Like usually the things I don't like in a wrestling show are things that I always don't like because they happen a lot, or they've happened before and I didn't like it then. I don't like when you have a national artist or somebody on your show with a live mic in their hand who doesn't know dick about wrestling. Anybody who watches WWE with any regularity knows that AJ Styles is the phenomenal one, not the phenomenal forearm. I
yeah,
also don't really like Hardy. I think if since they're in Nashville, Jelly Roll would have been a way better choice. He's been on before. He's obviously a big wrestling fan, and everybody
yeah.
loves the guy. So get him in there. All I can think is he's in the studio or he's on tour or doing something like that where he couldn't be
I
there.
know that
But
he
yeah,
not yesterday, but the week before SNL premiered their latest season, and he was the musical guest on there.
yeah,
And as somebody who's not like a huge fan of their music, I was actually kind of impressed. Like what
hmm,
he seems to be going in a different direction with his music that I
hmm,
kind of dig actually.
right,
And he seemed so humble and he seemed so grateful. And knowing a little bit about his backstory, like, yeah, give him that spot. See if you can call him, give him these opportunities to be around a thing that he really likes. Because you know
yeah,
what? He's earned it. He's earned it.
yeah,
He's cleaned his life up from a very bad place. He spent time in a very bad place and came out the other side as a better person. When you cannot say that about too many people who go through the
right,
correctional system, like it's kind of a miracle when it happens.
yeah.
I'm with you on this one. I think Jelly Roll probably like I'd never even heard of Hardy. You're the Hardy I've heard of. Like I,
That's true.
or Jeff and Matt. Like
Yeah,
I
or
don't
Jeff and Matt. Yeah,
like I don't granted, I'm aging out of the demographic that they're trying to target with these celebrities anyway. But
hmm,
like, I think Jelly Roll probably would have been bigger. At least I've heard of him.
yeah,
And like you said, he's already been on
yeah,
and he's in Nashville. I don't know. Maybe, like you said, maybe he's on tour. Maybe the SNL gig was part of that tour. I
yeah.
don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm not
Maybe
sure.
he was still in New York
Yeah, who
for all I
knows?
know. Maybe he
Yeah,
was like, yeah, maybe I'll just stay and be a tourist for for a
that
week or something. I
happens.
don't know.
That happens
Sure.
during the Mercules tour. He definitely got to New York and stayed there for like 3 or 4 extra days when he went for Sway.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So yeah, no, I'm in agreement with you on that. Like, use the biggest celebrity that you can, not some guy that probably the majority of your aging audience has never heard of. You may be targeting that younger demographic, but the people who are watching it are more our age.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like,
for sure.
not that you need to target us all this stuff, but like maybe if you're getting one of the newer artists, maybe get like the biggest one you can, so that at least we're aware of who they are.
Yeah,
You
the
know,
crowd really didn't seem to jibe with him, but when AJ Styles came out, that changed.
well, that's
So
Nashville, man. Like
yeah,
that's TNA country.
yeah, that's TNA
Like
country. So yeah,
that's where he made his name.
it'd
Of
be like
course,
Jeff
they're gonna
Jarrett
cheer the
suddenly
crap out of
appearing.
him. Yeah,
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 well, so kinda, but I,
yeah.
I think he's redeemed himself a little bit in AEW, but we can talk about that some other time. But yeah, so I didn't really like the Hardy thing opening the show. I did like the AJ Styles return though, and that's my ending thing that I really liked. AJ Styles came back. He was obviously very into the crowd being very into him. He was very emotional. The ability because he was out there before Carmelo Hayes interrupted him. He was kind of talking about like I did some shitty things before I left, and I obviously don't have that many friends back there. But he was also getting emotional over the crowd. So I think the emotion that from the crowd made the "I'm kind of a shitty person" promo go a little better and be a little bit more believable. But fuck, I mean, I don't even need any of that. AJ Styles is back, and he's like
Yeah.
100% a badass wrestler, and always makes any program better. So
Yeah, I
you know,
feel like the best thing that you can do to establish a babyface turn is have the guy turning admit their crap and try to own up to it and try to make up for it. That goes a long. People are very forgiving,
mhm.
I think, and in general. But you have to try. You have to put yourself out there and make it known that you're trying. As long
Right?
as you look like you're gonna try, people are very forgiving. So,
Yeah,
translating that into wrestling terms, babyface turns don't often go over well or as well as they could or as well as you want when they just happen out of nowhere. Big Show babyface turns, who cares? He's flip flop more often than anybody in wrestling history. But like when, you know, Hangman finally turns back face, it's gonna
yeah,
be you know that he's gonna own up to the crap that he's done, and he's gonna try and make up for it because not only is that the character, that's also what somebody trying to be good would do.
yeah, yeah. So
So
yeah,
yeah, kudos to AJ.
yeah, kudos to AJ. I really like that part. Yeah, SmackDown was good overall this week. I give it a thumbs up. The only thing I really, yeah, the only thing I really didn't like, I mean, I thought I was entertained by the ladder match, but it was so it'll get like a from me. Everything else was a thumbs up though. The show overall was very good, except for that Hardy thing where he called him phenomenal. Like I was just like, ugh, like today on
It's giving
football.
me Jeremy Piven Summerfest vibes.
Yeah. Like today on football, one of the referees, like the head referee that gets the microphone, said
Mhm.
fumbled the basketball during a football game. So yeah, no more white hat for that guy. But that was kind of the way I felt when he called him the phenomenal. I felt the same way when he called AJ Styles the phenomenal forearm. I was like, what the hell? Like, sir,
Well,
what
it's
are you
worse if he's a
doing?
referee.
Yeah,
Worse
yeah.
if he's a referee because that's the game it's his job to officiate.
Right.
He definitely shouldn't get that wrong.
Well, I'm sure Hardy
But
was being paid, so
well, yeah. But okay.
at least I
Well,
hope they didn't let him
tag
get
me
out
in,
there and do
bro.
that shit for free. Hell yeah, tagging you in.